Hello and a very warm welcome to another edition of our special election series, the Dhabas of Democracy, our election road trip that began in Kanyakumari and is making its way to Kashmir. Every day we come to you from another part of India, bringing you voices from the ground and the biggest newsmakers. I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo Story. It's a big news day today. Arvind Kejriwal, the Chief Minister of Delhi, has got interim bail from the Supreme Court for the next 21 days, pending a final decision from the Supreme Court. He will be out. He cannot perform the official functions of Chief Minister, but he can campaign for the Aam Aadmi Party. The Supreme Court also questioned why the Enforcement Directorate did not move to arrest him either earlier or after the elections. But the Supreme Court made the argument that 21 days would make no difference to the case, and the court had to be cognizant of the fact that there is an election campaign on. When it was argued by the Enforcement Directorate and its law officers that Kejriwal should be forbidden from speaking on the case, the Supreme Court rejected that demand. The Supreme Court, in fact, said that just like had happened in the Sanjay Singh case, another AAP leader arrested in the same Delhi liquor scams case, the other side, the opposing side, in this case, the government side, was free to conduct this debate as aggressively as it wished to in public. So the only restriction on Arvind Kejriwal at this point is that he cannot return to his official duties as Chief Minister, but he is free to be the political face of the Aam Aadmi Party, something that his lawyers and his legal team had pushed hard for. What impact might this have on the Delhi elections, as well as the mood of the opposition camp, as well as the ruling party camp? To discuss both the political and the legal implications, let me introduce our guests. The story is fast developing. This has happened moments ago. Joining us on the program is Hitesh Jain, who is, of course, a leader of the BJP, as well as a senior lawyer. Welcome to the program, Hitesh. Also joining us is Ashutosh, who is, of course, a senior journalist with Satya Hindi, but also a former member of the Aam Aadmi Party. Also joining us is Percival Billimoria, who's a senior advocate, one of the country's best-known lawyers. Akshay Marathe of the Aam Aadmi Party and Sanjay Hegde both should be joining us in moments from now. Let me start by getting first reactions. I'll start with you, Ashutosh. You've been a critic of Arvind Kejriwal from time to time. How do you see these developments?
It's not being a critique of Arvind Kejriwal or anybody. I'm a journalist and I'm free to express my opinions on any subject or any leader. See, this case is a very, very curious case for the simple reason because Supreme Court has neither pronounced any judgment about the arrest because Arvind Kejriwal has challenged the arrest itself. The Supreme Court has not pronounced any judgment on that. Neither the Supreme Court has given any permanent bail to the Arvind Kejriwal. It has only given an interim bail for 21 days. What does it mean? It means very, very clearly that the government and the enforcement agencies and others should get a clear message that that if they arrest anybody for political reasons, then you are basically playing with the democracy of the country. You are basically trying to obliterate the level playing field. And as a democracy, as a participatory democracy, a country cannot afford this. They have clearly asked a question 6 months back. You had the same material evidences. After 6 months back, you had the similar. There is no addition in that material evidences. But you decided to arrest him at the time of when the elections were about to begin. Now, is it not obliterating the level playing field, which is required for any political party to do this? So it is a clear message to not only to the BJP, not only to the Prime Minister, not only to the agencies, but to each and everybody, or any vindictive government who wants to stop opposition from fighting a good battle and obliterating the level playing field.
If you say that it is a clear message, just before I open it up, I see Akshay is also here. Welcome and congratulations, Akshay. Big relief for the party you support. If you say it's a clear message on democracy and for vindictive governments, then are we at least acknowledging that our democracy is well and functioning? Because we can't make both arguments. You can't say democracy is khatre mein hai, but also say that this is a message to uphold democracy.
See, even the Putin's Russia also say that the democracy is functioning over there. Even the Erdogan's the Turkey is also saying that the democracy is functioning over there. Even in the Biden time, the democracy in America is also functioning there. So, what is the degree of democracy? Barkha, you have been such a fantastic journalist. We all have almost a parallel careers in this country. you believe that what democracy meant before 2014 and what democracy has come till this. Yes, we are speaking freely, but how much and how long, we do not know. The fact of the matter is that this has become a rule under this regime, that you try to finish opposition either by hook or by crook. Either you adopt them, either you co-opt them, or you put them in jail. The court has given a clear message that yes, I am not pronouncing any judgment on the merit of the case. Neither I am giving him this. But if you try to put obstructions when the election is on, and you basically try to create an uncomfortable situation for the opposition, I'm not going to tolerate this, and this will be a precedence for the Hemant Soren also. And I believe that he and his party should go and should say, I'm the president of the party, and I need to go out and campaign for my party, because that is what the democracy demands, and that should be honored, and that's what I believe so.
Okay, let's open this up. I'm sure Hitesh and Percival will have things to say. Sanjay, I can see you driving somewhere. If possible, do park at least to join our program. Akshay, quick response. First reactions from the Aam Aadmi Party. Ashutosh says it's a clear message. It upholds democracy. It makes the point about essential freedoms. The Enforcement Directorate had argued that the right to campaign is not a fundamental right. The Supreme Court has very clearly recognized that these are exceptional circumstances. It's an election on, and Arvind Kejriwal does have the right to go out and campaign. They've not got into whether it's a fundamental right or not. But one of the reasons they've granted this interim bail is to allow Mr. Kejriwal to campaign. First responses.
Barkha, I was hearing Ashutosh speak and you countering him that at least now can we say that India is a functioning democracy. The problem is that with this dictatorial government, every little victory has to be snatched after immense effort from the opposition. And you have seen what has happened with Mr. Arvind Kejriwal's case. 3 phases of the election are already over, and he had to go to the Supreme Court after going through multiple levels of challenges at the trial court, to the district court, to the high court, and then to the Supreme Court. And finally, the Supreme Court did give him his relief that he deserved. So why did the BJP government force an 3-time elected chief minister to chase after the judiciary when the matter was so clear cut that the Supreme Court has clearly laid out today? That there is no case against him, there is no arrest against, there is no charge sheet against him. The Supreme Court goes into details of how this case has progressed as well. It acknowledges that the case was filed over 2 years ago. It acknowledges that this investigation has been ongoing for several years, and even for almost 1.5 years, the ED did not even name him in any of its summons. So if the Supreme Court could see what is happening in broad daylight, why did the Enforcement Directorate force this entire situation on India's democracy? This is a big question mark on the Enforcement Directorate, and therefore I think it actually gives fillip to the argument of the opposition parties that the Enforcement Directorate and the investigative agencies have become very clear political tools in the hands of the Bharatiya Janata Party. And today's interim bail by the Supreme Court is a huge victory for the opposition parties and Aam Aadmi Party in particular, because it not only does it bolster our arguments against the investigative authorities, but Arvind Kejriwal ji is a massive opposition leader with a huge following in the across India.
I'll come to the politics of it in a moment. I just want to also look at the legal dimension of this. Hitesh, you tweeted today saying that the interim bail is no legal. It's not a statement on the guilt or the innocence of Mr. Kejriwal, and to that extent, it's not making a legal argument. You heard Ashutosh make the point that actually it is a message to what he calls vindictive governments. Point 1. Point 2, the judgment, the court does question the timing of the arrest. The court does say that there was 1.5 years. This could have been done either before or after the elections. To that extent, the Enforcement Directorate's timing has certainly been put under scrutiny. As a BJP leader, but also as a senior lawyer, how do you respond, Hitesh?
Well, I think today's order is unprecedented and shocking. For the first time, a Supreme Court has created a special class for Arvind Kejriwal. Today, Aam Aadmi Party should change its name as Khas Aadmi Party, because the Supreme Court has made unprecedented, a class has been carved out for Kejriwal that purely for the purpose of campaigning, he should be let out. I ask a question. I mean, I heard Ashutosh also that today this is the order or a vindication for democracy. But then what is the difference between Hemant Soren and Kavita? They have been also in the court. By the same logic, Supreme Court, without pronouncing on the merits of the case, wants to release Arvind Kejriwal on the bail, but not release the other leaders on the bail. So I don't think this is an order. This is a special precedent and a special privilege created for a privileged person like Arvind Kejriwal. We should not read any message beyond that. It is a special.
So you're upset. So you're upset with the Supreme Court. Are you upset with the Supreme Court?
In my view, Supreme Court has opened Pandora's box. Tomorrow, how is Supreme Court going to answer a farmer or a business person? Tomorrow, a farmer also who is accused of a heinous crime, as Mr. Kejriwal has been arrested. Tomorrow he will say that I have to go for my sowing, or there is my harvesting season. I should be released on bail. Tomorrow Amritpal Singh Sandhu will come to the court and he says, I'm contesting the election. I should be released on bail. Make no mistake, Arvind Kejriwal has been told he cannot function as a chief minister. He cannot sign the files. So when a Supreme Court passes such order, Supreme Court is also mindful of the fact that a person who's been charged of such heinous crime when he is facing such serious charges, he cannot even occupy his office. So I mean, by what face Arvind Kejriwal is going to go in front of the public that I cannot go into the office, I cannot step into my office, I cannot sign any files. I mean, with what face he is going to go before the public? The person who used to claim कि for every offense, or if there is any single charge against a politician, इनको जेल में डाल दो, इनको इसमें डाल दो, या सोनिया गांधी को जेल में डाल दो, सब ठीक हो जाएगा. Now the same person is begging the court, oh, please make a special class for me, make a justice excuse for me, today what he has done is he has sought a favor as a politician, and I think the Supreme Court will.
Barkha, can I?
Yeah. Just 1 second. So you are saying you're angry or disappointed, Hitesh, as a very senior lawyer, but also a BJP leader with the Supreme Court?
Well, I'm saying this order is very unprecedented, and it is opening Pandora's box, for which the Supreme Court will have to answer, because Hemant Soren also came to the court, Kavita also came to the court. So why special privileges is being granted to Aam Aadmi Party? I mean, Arvind Kejriwal is clearly proving that he is not an Aam Aadmi Party or a leader of an Aam Aadmi Party. He is the prince who wants special privileges from the Supreme Court, the leader of the Aam Aadmi Party.
Barkha, this is basically a brazenly casting aspersion on the Supreme Court verdict on the Supreme Court, because it is not the Arvind Kejriwal has every legal right and the constitutional right to go to the court and beg and petition. It is up to the Supreme Court to endorse that. The Supreme Court today has agreed. So is BJP and the lawyer trying to say that the Supreme Court has the two rules, one for the Khas Aadmi and another for the Aam Aadmi Party? If that is what they are saying, that means they are casting aspersion on the judges, and basically trying to let me also tell you. I want to remind my BJP friend that when Ram Rahim is given parole, who is a killer, who is a rapist, for not once, not twice. Where was the morality of the BJP? What the BJP was saying? Now you're casting aspersion on the Supreme Court. You've forgotten what the Haryana government has done.
I think I have to come in only because I need to get Sanjay and Percival to speak. I promise. I know Hitesh, you're trying to make a point, but everyone's on let the others speak. But I'll go to Sanjay and then to Percival. Sanjay, quickly.
Well, this is unprecedented, yes, but it has set a correct precedent simply to prevent the Indian Republic from going the way of Pakistan, where Imran Khan was held in prison. Charges were levied one after the other. He was kept in prison. You had elections thereafter, and then the election results were managed. We have refused to go the Pakistan way. We have refused to go the Russia way of Navalny, and the court definitely knew what was at stake here today. As far as these charges are concerned, these are not they are nowhere near a trial. The investigation, if any, can continue unhampered. So the point is, what are you sending a message that we can put down any opposition leader in prison, keep him in prison for as long as we want, and that there is nobody whom we have to answer for? Today, the law has stood up and the law has said, no, you can't do that. There is the law, and it has been interpreted by the Supreme Court so that we can have an election where everybody participates. Now, this point about the chief minister not signing files. That is also a precedent which the Supreme Court had long ago done in Indira Gandhi's case. When Indira Gandhi had been unseated by the Allahabad High Court and she came to the Supreme Court, it was Justice Krishna Iyer who gave a conditional stay, saying that she could continue to be a member of parliament, but she would not vote or take a salary until her appeal was heard.
Okay.
The Supreme Court has today said that, look, there are very many important questions in Arvind Kejriwal's petition. We have to give a detailed reply, a detailed judgment. That will come in its own time. Right now, we have an election on our head, have an even contest. That is why we are we are giving him temporary bail.
Okay. I'm only rushing all of you because you're all on tight deadlines. So Percival, come in on everything you've heard so far.
Right. So Barkha, last time we spoke, I had mentioned that the timing of the arrest is something that could appear a little troublesome. Now, the reason why I had made that comment at that time is that there is a decision already there of the Supreme Court, the People's Union for Civil Liberties, which has clearly said that democracy is part of the basic structure of the Constitution. It is also said that a free and fair elections is a feature of democracy. And like any other lawyer in the country, I think all of us have to stand up for the basic structure of the Constitution. The Constitution, I've said this before also on your show, it has stood us in very good stead, especially in the difficult times, in the emergency, etc. Now, having said that, I think this particular point has weighed very heavily on the Supreme Court. But at the same time, I must tell you that, look, it is very wrong to politicize this issue. Why am I saying this? First of all, he has not been acquitted. The acquittal will follow. Please also remember that he is right now in a petition saying that the arrest is illegal. That is yet to be decided. So therefore, I think it is a little premature on the part of Mr. Kejriwal and his colleagues to declare victory. And in fact, I saw the order just about 5-10 minutes before we logged on, and the order does restrain. It says here, and I'm quoting, he will not make any comment with regard to his role in the present case. Right? So that is a very clear restriction. Now, why has this been imposed? Because I think the learned SG made this plea specifically to the court, because the court, and when you're electioneering, you cannot have false views, right? So you cannot go to the people and say, that this is all nonsense and I'm being detained, as we have heard on this show as well. The jury is still out on this. So I completely reject any of these propositions that have been put forward. Let us just wait. All that has happened today is rightly so. The man has been allowed to participate in the election process. That is all. Now, he cannot misuse that to pontificate.
But he can talk about the case in general terms. That's what the initial sort of updates from the court said, or is that not allowed as well?
I'm looking at the order, Barkha. I mean, I just printed it out, a few minutes before, and I'm again quoting the following conditions: the bail, bond, etc., which are the usual ones. He will not make any comment with regard to his role in the present case. So he cannot go to he is now in the Adalat of the people. Now, in the name of free and fair elections. Now, in the name of free and fair elections, can he go and tell them that I had nothing to do with this, that I was innocent, that I'm being locked up, and this is revisited in India? I don't think so.
Okay, and that's an important
update. On the show, that is wrong. And yes, democracy is a very fundamental part, and it will remain so, of our constitution. And every lawyer must stand up for this.
Everybody has reactions to the update you've just given us, which is a very important update that you're reading out from the order. He's restricted from commenting on his own role. Briefly, Sanjay Hegde, Ashutosh, Hitesh, in that order, or I'll do Sanjay Hegde, Hitesh, and Ashutosh, whichever order. Sanjay, go.
No, can I go first? Because after that, I think I better move from this spot.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. The point is that this restriction is only about his own role. He may say, I am not, he may not say, I'm not guilty, or he may not discuss the mechanics of it. But if he says that India is a democratic country where people cannot be locked out indefinitely and knocked out of the election process, there is nothing which can stop him. And that is the basic message that I want the Indian citizen to take home today. That if they think that there is a game which will be played only one way, they are wrong. There is a Supreme Court above us all. There is a Constitution above us all. We are creatures of the Constitution. Then the Constitution ensures not only free and fair elections, but the liberty and dignity of the individual.
Okay, let me bring in Ashutosh and then Hitesh. Ashu?
Barkha, it's nothing new. In every time a person gets a bail, the similar conditions are always there. It's always said that you can't discuss your case, you can't discuss the merit of the case, and you can't give a press conference. You take the case of Sanjay Singh. Sanjay Singh is out on bail, but he's talking politics and he has galvanized Aam Aadmi parties. The fact of the matter is, today Arvind Kejriwal will be a living political martyr. His presence on every platform itself will make a political statement, and that will be damaging for the BJP and others, especially in Delhi, Punjab, and Haryana and Gujarat.
Okay, Hitesh, Akshay, give me just a second. I'll get Hitesh and then come to you right after. Hitesh, Percival makes the point that this is not about the guilt and innocence of Arvind Kejriwal, and nor can he talk about his own case. But both Sanjay Hegde and Ashutosh say there are ways to make. In fact, the Supreme Court names Sanjay Singh as a parallel and says just like Sanjay Singh has handled this, there is a public conversation that can take a place. I don't know, did we just lose Hitesh there? So actually, I'll let you come in the meantime. But go ahead.
Moment to point out.
Yeah.
It's an important moment to point out that there remains no case in the court against Arvind Kejriwal as of today. The Enforcement Directorate has not filed any charge sheet against Arvind Kejriwal. So it remains to be seen what the specifics of this line that the Supreme Court writes, where it says that he cannot discuss his own case. There is no case against him. So surely it is up to the lawyers to decide how to handle the Supreme Court judgment. We will respect whatever the Supreme Court says, but it is very important for the public to understand this fact that he has been arrested. A national leader has been arrested without any charge sheet against him. This is unprecedented in the history of our country, Barkha, that someone with no legal process, no due process, was arrested like this in the manner that he has been arrested. And therefore I welcome the Supreme Court's unprecedented verdict. It is undoubtedly unprecedented because, remember, he did not even ask for bail in this matter. The interim bail has been granted without any bail process happening because he was challenging the very arrest itself. Right?
Okay, can I get the lawyers to respond? I think Hitesh was wanting to make a point, but Percival, did you have a interjection? Percy, go ahead.
Yeah. So this narrative that you cannot be arrested without the charge sheet is wrong. All right. So there are two kinds of it. One is pre-trial, okay, which is the reason why we have a lot of under trials in our country, which is unfortunate. All right. There's no doubt about that. But there is a situation where there is a pre-trial arrest. The trial begins after the charge sheet. So you cannot come and say that you cannot be arrested before the trial. That is a wrong proposition altogether. Secondly, in fact, and when people go for bail, these are the aspects that are considered. What are the aspects to be considered? Whether the person after he comes out is he a flight risk? And here the Supreme Court rightly said that he is not a flight risk. Then there is another aspect to be considered, which is that can he manipulate the evidence? So there is another condition that has been imposed on him, which is that he will not interact with any of the witnesses. Right? So these are the normal conditions. But to say that he will not comment with regard to his role in the present case is a condition of every bail is also wrong.
Right. But the point is that, how does this actually play out? Hitesh, you wanted to make a point. Go ahead. Hitesh?
want to answer 2 points. Sanjay Hegde
Yeah.
tried to compare again the Supreme Court with Pakistan and Turkey and all. And in the past, I've raised these issues. So on a Sunday, Supreme Court is compared to Pakistan and Turkey, and Monday, the Supreme Court democracy is everything right. That's the larger point. I want to make a contradiction. When the Supreme Court is in their favor, everything is right. When the Supreme Court is not in favor, it is the Supreme Court of Pakistan. That is point number one. Point number two, today, what is the message of the order of the court? The message of the order is the Supreme Court has painted the face of Kejriwal as black, tied his hand and sent him to face the public. He cannot act as a chief minister. He cannot sign the files as a chief minister. He has to take the prior permission of LG. He cannot comment on the merit of the case. So with this certificate, when he will have to face the people, the court of the people, ultimately he has to answer the people in this democracy. There is a court of the people also. So his face has been nicely blackened. With a tight slap, he has been sent with his mouth shut on the merit of the case. Now it is up to him. He can of course he's shameless, brazening out. That is the playbook of Aam Aadmi Party. They are shameless. They will brazen it out. They will do that. But ultimately, the people of this country are aware what is going on in the case. The fact that the Supreme Court has recorded that he avoided the summons 9 times. So if he is going to speak on his role, he will have to give the answer why on the flimsiest ground he evaded the summons. If everything was right, he should have gone to the authority. I mean, he used to always say, "Kar lo arrest, कर लो मनीष सिसोदिया को अरेस्ट कर लो मुझे अरेस्ट और जब अरेस्ट करते हैं तो डर जाते हैं
But then Hitesh, does that mean that just like Sanjay Hegde, and you raise the valid points, I hope Sanjay reconnects and we can put this to him, the analogies with Pakistan and not going the Pakistan way. That's a fair point. But does that mean that you also welcome parts of this order? Because in the beginning of the program, you were very agitated.
Well, what I said was it is an unprecedented order. You have made a separate class. And the Supreme Court has opened a Pandora's box. Tomorrow I said, what is the mistake of Hemant Soren? What is the mistake of Kavita? What is the mistake of Farmer? What is the mistake of Amritpal Sandhu? So Supreme Court cannot make out what I was trying to make out the case that this is for the first time ever since independence, a person has been released on bail for the purposes of campaigning. Now, is Supreme Court going to apply the same yardstick for others, or it is going to give a special treatment to Kejriwal? So there is nothing wrong. I mean, I'm asking a question. And the Supreme Court, since the Supreme Court has taken a decision, the Supreme Court at some point of the time will have to answer this question also.
Okay, I think Akshay Marathe of the AAP is wanting to come in and then we'll come back to Percy. Yes.
No, Barkha, quick rebuttal. Look, I think there's no day until today that I could have said this with confidence. But today, at least, the BJP should not say that the Supreme Court has slapped Arvind Kejriwal. If anything, it has slapped hard at the Enforcement Directorate's face. So at least have the courtesy to acknowledge that you have lost today and don't pretend like today is a day of victory for you, that Arvind Kejriwal's face has been blackened. Arvind Kejriwal has actually come out and emerged as a phoenix. He's risen from the ashes like he always does. You tried everything in your book to destroy him, but the gods work in his favor, the universe works in his favor, and if he has been the unprecedented first leader to get this kind of treatment from the Supreme Court, so be it. It will open the doors for the leaders that you mentioned. It will open the doors for K. Kavita, for Manish Sisodia, for Satendra Jain, all of whom have been politically incarcerated by the Bharatiya Janata Party. And quick second point, Barkha. There was a question.
I think Hitesh had the response. Hitesh, go ahead. Hitesh.
Well, Barkha, if that is the case, and if this is a question about democracy and giving a certificate, what will happen on 2nd June when he will go inside? Then what? All hell will broken loose. So the fact is today, you cannot sign the file of the chief minister. You cannot sign the files as the chief minister. You cannot comment on the merit. The fact that the Supreme Court does not even trust you to speak to the other witnesses, that means so that you can go ahead and manipulate. This shows that the Supreme Court has no trust in Kejriwal.
I have to move on to Percy. Yeah, quickly, Akshay. Yeah.
There was a very important point you and both Hitesh and you made about the evasion of summons. I want to point out Amit Shahji, the Home Minister, said on a major television news debate today that the timing of arrest cannot be questioned because he has been summoned for the last nine times 8 months ago. So if he had been addressed the summon the first time, he would have been arrested at that point itself. So Amit Shah himself has said that the summons were only a modus operandi to bring him to the ED office and arrest him. So the evasion of summons argument has also fallen flat by the BJP's own admission. So let's
Okay.
remember that as well when
Yeah,
we move forward.
let me come to Mr. Billimoria. Percival Billimoria, the point is that there will be political hyperbole on both sides. The BJP will say, Kejriwal's hands have been tied, or they may say, why has the Supreme Court do this for one person? It will have to do it with everybody. But there is an interesting set of questions that arises. What happens on the 1st of June? What happens on the 1st of June? Does the Supreme Court take a final decision on this case till then? What happens? And then what? We are celebrating today those who support Kejriwal. AAP says it's a victory of truth and democracy. Hitesh, who's on the BJP side, says this is an unprecedented exceptionalism. What happens on the 1st of June to both of these positions?
So, look, without politicizing this issue, let me give you the correct legal position. I think one side is saying it is a slap on Mr. Kejriwal, the other side is saying no, it is a slap on you. All this is hyperbole. All right, here is the reality. The reality, quite simply, is that yes, so we heard the argument that due process was not followed. Now the man was sent summons 8 times. What more due process do you want? And therefore, if there was any issue in terms of the timing, it can be directly attributed to the summons. So just because the Supreme Court has said that, look, let's forget everything, I don't think the Supreme Court has taken any side politically. All that they are saying is elections are a very important event. This is a democracy, and I think kudos to the Supreme Court for saying that, standing up for democratic principles. Having said that, I think both sides should just take a back seat and not politicize this. The reality today is quite simply that the Supreme Court has not yet decided his application to say that the arrest is illegal. They have just given him interim bail. Now, can I also tell you there are even murderers and people who are accused of drug offenses get interim bail.
So right? I have a question. I have a legal question before I come back to
acquittal. At the same time, it is not a conviction.
Okay, it is not an acquittal. It is not a conviction. Point taken. I have one legal question before I come back to Akshay and Hitesh. You read from the judgment, Percy, to say that he's not allowed to talk about his own role and he's not allowed to interact with witnesses. However, that still leaves a wide space to say in general terms what the AAP has been saying, that there is an electoral bonds question, there is an approver question, there is the Aurobindo Pharma, he was an accused, he turned an approver, ye to BJP ne paisa liya hai. Arvind Kejriwal has been saying this, his lawyers have been saying this, his party has been saying this. If he comes out and says this, will that be considered him talking about his own role, or will that be considered general terms around the issue?
So if you read the letter of the condition, then it could be argued that he's not violating it. But at least in spirit, look, the whole point here is that can you use the leave that is given to you by the Supreme Court? Because after all, it is in the spirit of conducting a free and fair elections. He is a major player, so let him have a say. But there should not be any hyperbole regarding this case, because that I'm being imprisoned because this is Putin revisited. Have they seen the evidence? Have they seen the evidence? Several courts have looked at the evidence and said that there is serious evidence. I think even this order today says that the accusations are serious. Now, whether ultimately what happens will be something that is the outcome of the trial, the courts will decide. So it is too early to say anything. So let's just please conduct our democracy in a proper manner. That's all that is required.
Let's take final comments. I'll start with Akshay, Hitesh, and then Percival. Akshay, hold your horses seems to be the argument. 21 days, great momentary relief from a political point of view from the Aam Aadmi Party. Absolutely. Mr. Kejriwal can now be the face of the campaign. We'll see what impact that has. He can possibly come out and say whatever he wants to in broad stroke political terms without getting into the specifics of the case. But the argument that Mr. Billimoria is making is that he's not been declared an innocent person. He's not been declared a guilty person either. He has got a procedural bail to take part in the elections. Is the AAP being premature in claiming victory?
Barkha, there are two parts to this answer. Number one is, when the whole BJP apparatus, the media, the Enforcement Directorate, its spokespersons are out there day in and day out pronouncing Arvind Kejriwal as guilty, I think we are well within our rights to pronounce from our side that we do not believe in those charges. We believe that those charges are false. They may be serious charges, but even serious charges, when, even fake charges when said with a serious face, can appear serious. So it is our right and our responsibility to counter some fake narrative that the Bharatiya Janata Party is peddling. I don't think anybody should deny us that right. It is, it is our fundamental right to defend ourselves. Number one. Number two, I think the like you said, the question of him being released not on the merits of the case, but for the elections, for the campaigning itself. I think it is a big message to the Bharatiya Janata Party that if they want to win elections in India, they should fight free and fairly. They should try and defeat the opposition on the basis of their views on their performance, and not rely on sullying the playing field and muddying the playing field by taking out major players from the contest itself. It is a major message from the judiciary of this country to the executive, saying that don't cross the line. This is not okay in an electoral democracy. You cannot take out someone from an electoral process just at the whims and fancies of your investigative authorities.
Okay, Hitesh, last comments?
Well, I don't think Supreme Court has said anything as of like you cannot take out the people from the campaign and all. We have defeated Aam Aadmi Party and Kejriwal fairly and squarely in 2014, 2019, and will defeat them in 2024. Personally, Mr. Kejriwal was defeated by Mr. Modi comprehensively in 2014 Varanasi election. Nothing prevented Mr. Kejriwal to contest the election again from Varanasi by filing his nomination. He still has a time if he wants to and come. We will give the answer to him in the court of the people. Well, he's a coward. He will brazen it out. He will shamelessly brazen it out, and people will answer the charge. At the end of the day, this is just a temporary reprieve for 20 days and exceptional circumstances created for a Khas Admi party, for a special privilege for Mr. Kejriwal. All this principle which he used to speak, ultimately the contradiction he has to answer while doing and show his face to the people during the campaign. Kejriwal has lost the moral ground, moral authority. He's a man whose face has been blackened and will go with his hands tied and with a tape on his mouth in the court of the people.
Okay, two very strong and differing perspectives. Percival Billimoria, I give you the last word. If you had to umpire these two extreme positions, is there a middle ground here that is factually true?
Well, I find neither of the two positions in the order. And as a lawyer and an officer of the court, I go by what the order says. All right. But also, let me say that the gentleman from the Aam Aadmi Party is correct by saying that, look, every person is innocent till proven guilty. And you can say that I am innocent, but then to expand that and say that, look, democracy is in danger, right? That is something that I personally do not think is correct, because you are casting aspersions on democracy. It is democracy because of which today you have the liberty to campaign. So please respect the democratic process. Please respect the Supreme Court, which has given you this liberty. Do not abuse it. That's my final word.
I think that is a final word with which we can close. The Supreme Court has actually underscored the importance with which they treat the election process and the right of the people to vote for who they want to, and the right even of candidates to campaign and put their message across. And that, irrespective of which party you're from, is a broad principle that all parties should support. And that is really where the court is focused. No comment on guilt or innocence. This is not any comment on the merits of the case. But yes, the Aam Aadmi Party was seeking this relief. It's politically a big moment for them. Arvind Kejriwal will now step into the election field, and the BJP believes that it can conclusively defeat them. That jury will be led by the people of India. Thank you very much to Hitesh Jain, Akshay Marathe, Percival Billimoria, and earlier to Ashutosh and Sanjay Hegde, and to our audience. Thank you for watching. This is Barkha Dutt signing off from another edition of the Dhavas of Democracy, our election road yatra from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. Thank you for watching. See you soon. We're at the Indian mainland's southernmost tip in Kanyakumari, the confluence of the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea, and the Indian Ocean. It is from here that we are beginning our big road trip to the heart and the soul of India, Dhavas of Democracy. that's all about traveling thousands of kilometers to look at the food, the fun, the festivity, the flavors of this election, but also, of course, to tell the stories of you, the people, of we, the people. At Mojo Story, we have always gone to where the story is. It could be the battlefields of Israel and Gaza, it could be the conflict zone of Manipur, or it could be the sorrow and the tragedy of COVID. We think of all of you as members of our community, of our family. So, I'm urging you and requesting you today to help us tell your stories and our stories. So do become a Mojo member. Support and power our storytelling, but also get first access to our big interviews, our special ground reports, our town halls, and also have the opportunity to ask our newsmakers questions directly, as well as get published on our platform. Become a Mojo member, click on the link below, and see you soon.